They're back. You get your guys back tonight from an undisclosed location here in Colorado. We are talking Chiefs versus Jaguars. Chris Jones is going to be back. Travis Kelce is going to be back. Dan can't control himself, and he's the guy in charge tonight because I'm sitting here in somebody else's living room. So, welcome to RGR Football. How you doing, Dan?
Oh man, I'm not in charge. This energy mobile over here is not not fully operational as we get going today, but that's what this is for. This is for me to get more charged up, for you guys to get charged up on how the Chiefs are going to be able to handle the Jacksonville Jaguars this weekend. And you guys understand, I got a little bit of good news. My wife will be home tomorrow. I'm very happy about that, and she'll get to watch the game with us on Sunday. So everything's turning up for us. We got a little bit of luck there. Maybe the Chiefs will find a little bit of luck on Sunday against the Jags.
I'm feeling pretty confident about that. I'll probably be watching by myself because my Broncos fan of a wife she'll saunter by, scream something about Mahomes, and then call it a day. You know, that's kind of the way that she works. So she just can't bear to watch Russ and the debacle that will be Denver, but that's okay. When you live here, you have to go through that. But yeah. I'm pretty excited because I think the rope-a-dope that came out on social media today of Travis Kelce like limping and playing it up for the camera. I think there are a lot of folks who didn't quite get that it was playtime to me.
Yeah,
they've listed him as questionable, but have said he's going to play. Heard it from multiple sources. I heard from two people today as well that like he's good. We're going to see what he looks like pregame, of course. That makes perfect sense. But you're going to have Travis Kelce back. Hey, Jeremy. Hey, Brenda. Hope you guys are good. Friday night stream, we're going to try to do the game plans live when we can. So like, sub, hit the bell. If you're watching this on replay, that's certainly fine. Get yourself subbed and hit that bell as well. Because, Nikki, well done. On time for a live. It's always a challenge. If you guys like hanging out and you have the time to do it on Friday nights, we thought that this would be a nice change this year. So given last week was Thursday Night Football, we're doing it now. You can always support the channel by buying gear like the hat that's on Dan's head, joining the memberships, or even hitting us in the chat there with super chats. We'll get an absolute answer every time. Otherwise, we're going to ramble about what we want to see on the field. Fridays will be about Sundays. So that said, with the returning players, I almost skipped Chris Jones, by the way. Spag says he is going to play. We'll see how much. Who are you more excited about?
I'm more excited about Travis Kelce. The defense showed well on Thursday night, rather better than I expected them to. Not so much in the pressure department, but you saw some flashes from Felix Anudike-Uzomah, who was quite good, in my opinion, against really good tackles. He played both sides, and he had some nice rushes on both, and that was very impressive to me. But all of this makes there's more attention everywhere else when Chris Jones is there. So he's going to be great, but they do need a lot more help from Travis Kelce. I would hope they have some things built into the game plan that aren't just specifically for Travis Kelce to be on the field, so they can maybe work on some of the issues they have regardless when he's not there, because that's going to be a determining factor in how these players develop and how their careers go, for being very honest with you. If you don't have Travis Kelce, you have to be able to find ways to make that work. So it's going to be nice to have him back on the field. I don't expect him to play the whole game. I'm thinking like maybe 50% of the snaps. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Maybe at most. But regardless, he's going to be a very nice addition to this offense against the defense that's relatively the same as it was last year.
And I'm looking for that as well, because I think it is the thing that despite everyone's language and everyone's confidence in their own capabilities, having Trav on the field with you allows you to like take a little more risk, push a little harder. Maybe some nerves and some jitters and some over stimulus maybe might be of what we saw last week, with guys not being able to concentrate the ball into their hands, on guys not being able to stem their routes at the correct depth and then try to not to hit each other in the middle of the field. That might be a good idea. I think when everybody's trying to take up the slack, I think you get attention that on a lot of teams is not very natural. Some teams it is, and you just got a bunch of alphas and everybody raises their game. But I really think that Trav gives you a floor that everybody else can relax around.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. They're able to do I guess they're like you said, they kind of relaxed a little bit. It felt like everyone was tense on Thursday. All the receivers were very, very tense, and they were just like, am I doing the right thing? Like they were asking themselves, they were just thinking too much. When you're thinking too much and you think that a defense is playing one way, that's something else that really does not get enough credit. The Lions forced the team to be uncomfortable. There were so many times they're running man beaters into zone. So many. I cannot tell you how many whip routes I saw. I was just like, why are we still doing whips? You guys, they're just playing cover. They're playing cover 3, cover 4. They're playing off. And they're just whip route right into that coverage. And I'm just like, what are we doing here? Why did we do this? You guys watch the film review that released on Wednesday. You can see a couple of times where there's a whip right into a coverage. I was specifically thinking of the one where he goes to Kadarius Toney first. He's on the right. He's running a whip route into an off coverage defender. He's just sitting there. And Mahomes is like, well, I have a one-on-one on the outside with Toney, but he's running a whip route against zone coverage. So I have to now go back to the left-hand side where there is a cluster. We'll leave out the other expletive of receivers just all over the place. So,
hey, Dan, do me a favor. Looks like your sound's crackling away. Maybe check that you're on the mic that you're looking to be on. It might be going through your earbuds. You never quite know, but I agree with you. That panic part, that little bit of, oh, you're really not there, but I'll make do. That's Patrick being Patrick, and that's why they were in that game. And I think the more I get closer to this ballgame, the more that I feel like Patrick's going to lead them in a bounce back. Hey, get your. Are we cussing on this one? I can't remember. Is this Friday Night Live or? Well, now you're muted. Okay, so we lost you. We can't hear your audio. But I'm going to say, hey, get your crap together and get out there and let's get it. And I think that raised that elevation of intensity that will come from Mahomes and will naturally come from having Kelce on the field. I think that's going to help.
Let's see if this works now. Is that better?
Oh.
No? Yes?
Yeah.
Should be okay. All right.
I don't know. Everybody let him know in the chat.
I've had a lot of issues with this microphone the last 2 weeks, so it might be time to get a new one. Just with the cord seems to be having issues, but
Dad, I want to watch this.
I'm sorry, you don't want to watch this.
Lucas says you're good.
All right. Here you go, sweetie. You turn on a different movie. No, not Wreck-It Ralph tonight. Okay.
You got to have the right thing for Friday night, man.
But yeah, I forgot the question.
That's all right. We can move on because I can't remember it either. I'm trying to get myself more light here because it's getting dark. So
this is live, guys. If you couldn't tell.
Yeah. We are making it up as we go along tonight, folks. Sorry that my normal production value is not happening here, but we'll get to it eventually. I think on the other side of the ball, what you get with Chris Jones is what you're hoping to see. I think you're going to get real Chris Jones in at least a few flashes. Is he going to be a full game of Chris at his peak? No, I don't know that there's any way he could be. He seems very confident, and I'm glad to see that, but I don't think you're going to see 80 snaps of Chris Jones. So, hey, it is what it is. But honestly, if he can be there for third down, I think that's probably good. Like you said, we had young guys contribute last week that I think really made a positive impact. So I'm good with that. And then you could feather him in, I think.
Yeah, I'm with you there. And I mean, I know Chris is going to be confident about everything that he does, but we all saw last week when the first necessarily real game action for a lot of these guys in the season didn't look great. And when you don't have any reps in training camp or preseason or anything, you're not in game shape. You're not. It's just a fact of NFL life. So they'll definitely work him in, and they'll see how he handles it. If he looks fine, you might see him more than we expect. But there's also a pretty good chance that you probably only see him on some third downs. Now I'm having microphone or camera issues, so that's awesome.
Yeah, it's always good.
Right.
If it's not one thing, it's another, and it's always going to change. And honestly, the more bandwidth I get, the more my stuff is like stressed and looks crappy. So we're going to keep working away on it, folks. But getting your players back, I think, lifts the whole roster and gives them a better way to go into the ball game. Then what happens once they're in the middle of it? The halftime adjustments, the down to down, looking at what the Jaguars are going to do. We're going to talk about what they're going to attempt, what the takeaways are, and we'll get to our points before we give you our predictions. So please like, sub, hit that bell. Thank you, Night Hunter. Nice to see you. Appreciate the support. We'll give you all the knowledge we have, and that's the fun thing is as we get further into the season, we have little tape to pull from. We'll be able to grab some film of what these teams have been doing in the past and just throw it at you. We're not going to do full breakdowns in preview shows like Dan does every week on the actual Chiefs 22, but we'll show you a clip here and there so you can get a feel for what these teams are going to look like. We'll probably move it a little bit later most weeks. I'm only here because of a family situation. There's practices going on that I have kids that have to be at, and there's only one way to get them there. So it is what it is. But we will continue to dispense our knowledge and what we're hoping for. So it's settled down for me, Dan. I don't hear any crackling now. Are you good?
I don't know. I can't hear it, so I don't know. If you guys are having issues, okay. I'm gonna pop out and see if I can fix this.
It's good when you're not speaking. Okay, that's cool. Good question here, John. How much will the run game be a factor? I think it's got to be some kind of factor. The question is, did you get enough efficiency out of the run game that Andy feels like he wants to run it more? I don't know that that's going to be his reaction. I don't know. Honestly, every time I think I understand what Andy's going to do, as he gets a little bit older, I think he's a little more open. I think Nagy's going to push some things as well, and that's not really going to be the run game in my opinion, but we'll see what happens. I think what you have in Pacheco is a guy that you want to feed him because I think he plays better when he gets more touches, but he also is a guy that can get injured. And so I don't think you want to stress that too much. So I expect it to be pretty much the same 28 to 30% run play call. Now, the interesting thing is going to be what Patrick decides to do because not only there are RPOs in the game plan every week, but there's also, I think right now, a little bit more of Patrick can judge and see what he wants to do. So, Jesus, I'm going to get to your comment in just a second. And so it's going to be, I think, situational what Patrick sees when he's there. And if they're getting burnt off the edge, if Josh Allen and Trayvon Walker in particular are coming at you and getting around the tackles, then they have to go run. And I don't think that's Patrick's instinct, but he's going to have to do that to try to slow them down. And if you gash them a couple of times between the tackles, it will be effective. It's subliminal, but it always works, and it's just a factor of the game that always goes into it. How you doing, Dan?
Hopefully better. I've had to unplug multiple things over here, but if it's still crackling,
Story of my life.
I'm gonna switch to a different microphone.
Okay, yeah, I'm still hearing it. I don't know if everybody else is, but it does sound like it's still there. Sorry, bud.
Gonna have to
it is what it is. We will work on that. I have a suggestion for you. Devil Juice, thank you for that. And if you would hit the thumbs up, the like for us, we would appreciate that. So do we pick for Orlando Brown Jr. or do we get screwed? Do we get a pick is what Devil Juice is asking. He left in free agency. Looks like he's going to be a starter. I think Joe Burrow might learn to regret that. But they should get a comp pick for it. The question is going to be is the better he plays, and we don't know the formula because the NFL doesn't release that, the better that the comp pick should get. So I have a feeling it's going to be a fourth rounder because I do think he's going to play a lot of snaps. I don't think he's going to play particularly elite. So I think it's kind of a balance there. But yes, she should, in all intents and purposes, get a compensation pick out of it, likely, in my opinion, in the fourth round. We'll see what happens. Stu, it's good point. If you guys missed Locked On Chiefs this week, me and Chris have been having a good time. But Chris got to do the crossover with Tony Wiggins, and Tony is a fun guy to listen to. I will tell you that right now. If you've seen any of my live stuff on Locked On when we're down in Mobile for the Senior Bowl, Tony is a guy that's a lot of fun to sit in the room with and just talk crap about the players because he will not hold back, and he rarely does. And so if on his show, Jesus, that they're saying that he in particular is saying that they're scared of the Chiefs run game, then I would take that as legit because he's not going to let things fly that are just out of the blue. You know what I mean? Tony's a beat reporter, so he's with the team every day. he does get to see them. And I'm just going to look up their run defense from last week because I didn't think it was terribly porous, but stranger things have happened. It is the Jaguars, so I can't always be right. Grover Stewart was fine. They got a couple of stops. I guess on the day they ended up with 19 stops. Taven Bryan, who might finally make something of himself, had a couple. But it was Stewart up there and their will linebackers, Ira Franklin. So, yeah, if you can get to the second level, I think that's where Pacheco can make some glancing blows and get his speed up that he can make. Oh, that's Indy. Sorry, I'm looking at the wrong roster. That's funny how that works. So this changes the complexity of what I was just saying. The stops were not as much. The guy who did it was the other Fadakasi. I'm not even going to try to play with the first names, but the other brother Fadakasi is over in in Jacksonville. I'm sorry, and is playing there on their D line. Had a couple. Devin Lloyd had a couple. Devin Lloyd didn't play as well as I expected. I was a little surprised by that. But when you look at their DNs, their DTs, they're a little bit down the list in terms of grades. So maybe they are a little bit scared. I would find that a little entertaining myself, but stranger things have happened. Dan, you look like you're back. You feel like you're back.
How's this, everybody? Is this better at all?
I think so, yeah. What is that?
It's my old microphone that I used to use.
There you go.
So.
There you go. It's funny. Everyone asks me, right? Everyone asks me, like, I get a few of these a month. Hey, Ryan, what setup do you use? What gear do you use? That kind of stuff. And I'm like, this, and this. And oh, by the way, I have this, and this, and this that I started with, and I had before that, and I had before that, because you never know when crap's going to break. So,
exactly. It's funny how that works, right?
Yeah, you got to have it. But Jesus, I like your point. And if Tony's saying that they're nervous about the run game, I mean, that's just all the more reason for me to run. Like, you guys know me, I would run first. I would run a lot. That's what third down is for. Yeah. I just don't.
He came out and then just went away from it. I think he came out and wanted to, and then they went away from it, which I thought was a little weird, honestly. But they also weren't very good in the run game. They had a lot of poor blocks, and the Lions came in, and Lee McNeil was fantastic, and the run game in Hutchinson was great. They were all over the place, just kind of getting after it. So that felt like it was a little bit of an effort thing on the Lions' part to outwork the Chiefs in the run game. And I would hope that they might take that as a challenge this week, because everyone expects them to throw the ball all over the yard, and they probably still will. But at the end of the day, you still have to be able to run the ball sometimes. Like, you don't need to be great at running the football. The Chiefs don't do it a ton, but they were still one of the most efficient run games in the NFL last year. That's the problem, is you have to be able to still run the ball to make them respect it. And if you don't, guess what? Teams won't respect it, and they'll just beat you with it. So that's where it comes down for me, is that I'd like to see them make the Jaguars respect it, because that's when you get the big plays out of 13 personnel.
Agreed. And it ties right into what Nick is saying. Are they going to try something different in third and short? Again, you have to practice it. You have to put it in there. You have to go for it. It can't be something that you trot out the same BS formation and do the same stuff over and over again. And Andy knows better than that. I'm still pretty shocked that was even in there, because I mean, evidently not.
They've had trouble on third and short for 3 years. It's been a 3-year long experiment, and we're still seeing the same stuff. So, like, I'm at my point now with it, where if they don't bring out a whole new formation this week on third and short, they don't care. And they've said that they've worked on it. I don't believe that if they will continue to run the same stuff. I refuse to believe it.
I agree. The proof's in the pudding. Like, you either want to get those or you don't. And honestly, want to is what it comes down to me. Like you said, like, the Lions wanted to stop it more than the offensive lineman wanted to get it done, in my opinion.
Agreed.
It is what it is. Nikki, I'm glad you enjoyed that, and that was a great comment too. For those of you who don't know, Locked On Chiefs is the podcast that I'm on with Chris Clark. We've been covering this team for starting our 7th season as a podcast. A couple of years before we started RGR, so we got a little bit of time to catch up, but we're going to get there. It's going to be fun. Tony said that the run game is what helped Henny win in the game when Mahomes got injured. Yeah, absolutely. It gives you balance. It slows down the pass rush, and for Henny in particular, when he's trying to hold in, he needs that little extra half a hitch, like a quarter second, something like that,
It helps when you get like a busted 30-plus yard run, though. That always helps a little bit.
True. Yeah. You're not wrong. Yeah, can't get them if you don't run though. If you ignore it, you're never going to get one. But somebody will bust if you make them. In my personal philosophy, when I've coached in the past, it's always be more physical, make them bust, make them screw up, put them to a point where they're either fatigued mentally or fatigued physically that they can't keep up with you anymore. That's what you got to do. Why is third and short the thing plaguing Andy, being the mastermind? And do you have a feel for this? Like, if it proves out that they don't care, and they march out the same damn thing, what does that tell you?
I don't know. I don't like what the implications are, because again, the implications would be that they think that they can pound their head against a wall as much as they want to, and eventually it will work when they've gotten the opposite done. Their offensive line has gotten not as powerful with the loss of Orlando Brown Jr. That's a fact. It just has. It's gotten more finesse, which is not a bad thing for their passing offense. It's not great for their run game. And Juwan Taylor was one of the worst run blocking tackles in the NFL last year. That's a provably true statement. And that's kind of the problem sometimes. Is you come out there with this motion, Blake Bell. I will not be able to contain myself on the post-game show if they trot out a third and short formation with Blake Bell as the quarterback. I will lose it. You guys will be privy to some choice words being said.
I'm ready for that. That'll be fun. So to answer your question here, long story short, Rob, goal number one for me is to run well. It doesn't have to be an overload of the game plan or the play call in terms of like proportionality, percentage of run plays called, but you got to run well when you do it. Keep that efficiency up. So that's task number one. Task number two is on the defensive side for me, and that is you got to slow down the number one threat that's on this team. And I know what it is, in my opinion. I wonder if you have the same thought, Dan. What's the number one thing the Chiefs defense has to stop?
Well, I don't know if you guys know, but they traded for one of the top 10 receivers in the NFL before the offseason.
2 years ago.
It turns out he's still really good. And they made it an effort. They made it an effort to display to every team that he is the legit number one. That was hey guys, we're throwing him the ball, and guess what? There's nothing you can do about it. Like, that's what that was. 8 receptions, 101 yards, and a touchdown. I mean, this is what it looked like. This is it. He was mostly on the right-hand side of the offense, but I mean, we're talking about there's yak plays here. There's a bunch of different kinds of route concepts. They got him the ball on screens. They moved him around. They did everything with Calvin Ridley, and that's still going to be what they do in this game. But we have to remember that last year Christian Kirk was like a huge problem for the Chiefs defense too. Like, this was not a everybody else is just kind of their thing, and Trevor Lawrence was just kind of fitting balls in the windows. No, Christian Kirk was beating the man coverage defense that the Chiefs rolled out a lot. And when you have all of that, it makes for a difficult offense to play against. So Calvin Ridley is going to be the main focus. How are you going to go about him? Is it going to be bracket coverage? Are they going to roll a safety that way and just kind of hope they can hold up other places, which I would imagine might be the case. But then again, we've watched Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins just get one-on-one coverage down the sideline year after year. So something tells me they're not going to just bracket Calvin Ridley. They're going to do what they do, and they're going to preface it on getting to the quarterback. But one more stat I have for you. Trevor Lawrence was second in quickest time to throw in week 1 with 2.43 seconds. That's boom, it's gone. It's out.
It's quick.
That's how fast the ball's coming out. So that's hard to plan against unless you're going to play physical press coverage, which we haven't seen them do a lot.
No, not yet. I think that they'll have to. And I pulled this back up because I did want to show your screen. I don't know if you can zoom in on that browser window.
Yeah, when I zoom in, it like gets it weird. Like, watch, I'll go in one time and boom. Okay, there we go.
Okay, cool. So this is what my instant takeaway is when I look at this. When they want to play physical, they're going to have to. But if you look at the routes that he runs from the left side of the formation, they're all long air routes, meaning, folks, the white is his travel without the ball. The green is yak yardage. So that's after he makes the reception. All of his screen work, all of his quick work came on the right-hand side. That's a tendency that I saw 2 years ago back in Atlanta as well. And I don't know why that is. I can't say that this is a trend because it's just one game, but it could be legitimate. So you know that you're going to have to give a little bit more play in terms of your variability if you're one of the corners that has to run with him if he's lined up on the right-hand side of the defense.
Yeah.
If he's lined up on the left-hand side of the defense, I feel like you can jump stuff and you can be more physical. You can be more aggressive in attacking the route, not necessarily the man. Does that make sense for you?
No, yeah, I absolutely understand. No, I think you're.
No, I mean, do you agree?
I think that they also need to play a little bit off on him and kind of break on the throw because the ball's coming out quick, right? So if he's on the right-hand side, you can get away with playing a little bit off and then just kind of trying to get downhill quickly, which the Chiefs have two outside corners, really three outside corners that can do that very well. So I think Trent McDuffie's ability to kind of click and close is going to be a very important part of this entire process against Calvin Ridley. That's something that I'm very interested in seeing as well.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm going to take a look for Nick's question here at what the DBs in Jacksonville did last week, because my perception was that Indy had a couple of nice plays. I remember Pittman had one. Trying to think if there was anybody else that really stood out. But Tyson Campbell was the guy that I thought had a decent game. But when you look at it, for a team, they allowed 24 receptions on 35 actual throws, not necessarily dropbacks. But that's not the greatest percentage. Tyson Campbell gave up 4 receptions on 5 targets. It was only 36 yards, but still, he did come away with an interception. Trey Herndon's their slot guy. He gave up 2 for 2. You know, I feel like you can attack inside. I think the thing that you have to keep in mind is that you have Cisco over the top. You know he's going to be headhunting. The guy that I still feel you can attack is Rashawn Jenkins, who played a lot for them despite being as old as me, just about. If you guys remember him from when he was in San Diego, and yes, that is how long ago it was. Like I think you can do something on that part of the field. So I'd be targeting out of the slot on Jenkins' side is what I would be trying to work.
Yeah, no, I agree. You kind of go with wherever you can, honestly, because I don't necessarily think that their game plan against a rookie quarterback who actually looked very good. Anthony Richardson looked very good in his opening game. When you have an entire offseason to plan for, you don't really know what Shane Steichen's going to do, but you also have an idea because you worked with Lamar, with Jalen Hurts last year. You kind of have an idea. That's pretty much exactly what they did. And I think that they can still attack this defense. I don't think that there's any reason to shy away. Again, it's the same group that was last year. They're hoping to get some development out of the young players. And, Josh Allen was fantastic last week. He was all over the place. He's somebody you have to keep an eye on. But I think that he's got a good matchup with Juwan Taylor. I think that that's a good matchup. And I think that he knows Josh Allen pretty well. And considering his week 1 against Aiden Hutchinson, which he won, by the way, in convincing fashion. I know he had a play that everyone was replaying where he fell down. Yeah, really good spin move by Aiden Hutchinson to come inside and then back outside. Good spin move, but go everywhere else. He was in control of that. And I think Josh Allen is going to have some trouble with Juwan Taylor. Anybody they put out there is going to have trouble with Juwan Taylor. So you actually might see him more on Donovan Smith than you see him on Juwan Taylor, is my thought.
Well, I'll tell you something, too. If you go back and watch that film, and I just took a quick glance at it, I didn't do a deep dive or anything. But what you come to realize is, yes, he made a bunch of plays. If you just watch the highlights, you see Josh Allen sack of the quarterback, left, right, and center. He got 3 of them on the day, had a couple extra pressures as well. You go back and look at the play to play. He only won like 4% of his pass rush snaps. They just all happened to end in a really good result. So
he was extremely efficient.
Yeah. So there are a lot of plays where he didn't get anywhere near the quarterback, didn't sniff him. So I think as long as you're not allowing him to convert, and that's, again, for those of you who remember in the draft season, that's why we separate pressure rate from finish rate, because that is a very different thing. And so he didn't get that much pressure in terms of per snap. And I think I agree with you. This matchup with Jawan Taylor, like, there's few players that are going to be able to defend him better than an athletic guy who's practiced with him for 4 years. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's been fun. Like, I'm just excited to kind of watch that. And I think Josh Allen's a fantastic player. Like, I really do. But you're right. He should have kind of beat up on the tackles that Indy brought out there. And, you know, he looked good when he did, but otherwise he wasn't doing a ton. So hopefully, again, he's not matched up on Donovan Smith the whole time, because I think he might be able to exploit that. But regardless, I do think that the Chiefs tackles are in a position to once again be much better than I think perception was. There's a lot. I think I've seen quite a few ideas out there that they're off the Chiefs offensive line, a lot of pressure, which I'm not entirely sure I agree with the statement. I think it was more maybe Pat moving around a little bit more than we expected him to, which contributes to what is perceived as hurries or pressures when he's not just standing still in the pocket. But I don't expect him to stand still in the pocket. I want him to move around a little bit. So I think they're going to be okay. And I think Trey Smith is going to have a bounce back this week.
Yeah. Okay. I'll take it, because I'm a little concerned. And I'll tell you where I'm concerned is if they flip. If they put Josh on Donovan and they put Trayvon on Jawan, that's when we should get nervous, folks. Yeah, when you're watching that and that's what you see, that's when you should start to get nervous, because I think that's where it changes and it attacks each guy's weakness. Now, I like Trayvon. I like him better from the left side of the defense. I don't know if they're going to keep him there or not. They seem to want to move him around, the two of them. I think Josh is better from the right side, so I just leave him there. But you got to give it a shot, right?
I think that they should take a little bit of a game plan out of what the Lions did. Put the speed rusher on the left side of the offensive line, put your power guy on the right, and you work him inside, which that's really what Trayvon Walker is going to be good at right now. He's not a very good pass rusher, which is something I highlighted when he came out. The fact that he went first overall was baffling to me. It made no sense. Yeah. No offense to Jags fans. I'm hopeful he develops, because there's a lot of traits there. But he was like, I had him graded as an end of the first round guy, not as a top overall player. Like, it wasn't there. His production wasn't there. His profile was not there. His athletic profile was fantastic, but he doesn't know what he's doing. So,
but even I wouldn't draft number one just based on athletic matrix.
No, I wouldn't either. You gotta have a little bit of, especially in the SEC. There's got to be some polish to what you're doing. You're playing against the best, okay? And that you can use that as an excuse for or an excuse against. You're going to see even better players in the NFL than you saw in the SEC. So if you're not flashing, having those consistently throughout the time, I mean, it's hard to develop regardless. So I think the best idea right now is to slide him inside against a little bit of inside on Jawan Taylor and Trey Smith, and use the speed off the edge on the right-hand side of the defense. But we'll see what they do.
It'll be interesting. Thank you, Joshua. We appreciate it.
You,
I'm not very comfortable cursing. I know I'm supposed to loosen up a little bit because everybody is on YouTube. But we'll try to keep it clean for you. At least that's my tendency anyway. We appreciate you being here.
We do what we can, and we do appreciate that. And we sometimes things slip. Sometimes they do. I'll be the first to tell you guys that this is not how I talk outside of YouTube for the most part. But I also know that when we do this is a semi-professional setting, and there are a lot of people that do appreciate the fact that we try to stay away from just boozing it up and swearing a bunch, which seems to be the go-to around a lot of football podcasts and YouTube places right now, which I also find an immediate turnoff. So I appreciate you, Joshua.
Yeah, thank you, Josh. I am the son of a sailor, so if you meet me in person, don't mind all the words you're going to hear. Let's see. Rob had Nick Wright spoke of all 7 receivers getting in sync with Pat in the distribution. Won't be a problem without a true number one. Your thoughts? I mean, it can work, yes. I do think you need to have somebody primary that you're trying, or at least the defense feels you're trying to get the ball to. So it's not all based on Trav. You want to have a two-prong attack because that opens up everything for all the other guys. I was encouraged by the use of the bigger-bodied guys last week. I really feel like Rashee Rice is in a position to take a big step forward here early in the season. Is he going to be the leading receiver? I don't think so, but I think he has an opportunity to be well ahead of where Sky was by the bye week, and that's one of the things that I'm looking for.
Yeah, and he's probably asked to do a little bit less. You know, they talked last year about how Sky was introduced into the entire playbook, and I don't understand what the usage was last week in week 1, because that didn't really show a guy who was asked to do a lot last year. And unfortunately, I think that his best tools are game plan driven, and the game plan was man beaters, and they didn't really put a bunch of zone stuff in there. So you didn't see it till the end. And that's what this game's going to be about. It's going to be about course correction. Like that's one of my number 2 point is the offensive chemistry. How are they going to course correct? You have honestly one of your worst wide receiver driven performances in years, outside of Indianapolis 3 years ago on that Monday or that Sunday night game or whatever it was. That one. We all remember that one. Byron Pringle and McCall Hardman, who got hurt. It was
the game that did not happen.
Exactly. So that's something that you have to be able to course correct. And so how are you going to come to this plan with understanding what the Jags are going to want to do defensively, but also know that they might go what the Lions did. They might play how the Lions played. They might play 70% zone. What are you going to come with? Rashee Rice in against a zone is a good matchup. Kadarius Toney is a good matchup against zone. He's a good matchup. You can find him against man too. And that's my big thing, is I think Kadarius is going to have himself a game this week. I'm hoping that he plays
that as well,
with some passion, and I hope that they've kind of invigorated himself and given him confidence. What are you doing? Oh, okay. Yes, give him the confidence back, and I think that might go to him early with a couple of catches with the ability to get going. What are you doing? You don't need to turn it off. Okay.
She's not sure. That's okay. I agree with you. We're going to hit a couple other questions here, folks, before we head them down the road. Jesus, did you see the fake injury dance? Yeah, that looked pretty convincing. It was all over, and I don't know who stole it from KCTV 5, but somebody put it out there over and over and over and over. So,
oh, yeah. I've seen a couple.
I want to jump. Yeah, right.
I'm just saying, I'm seeing a couple people like put music to it and something. Like, that's pretty funny.
Oh, really? I want to get to Anthony's question because he asked a good one, because I didn't even complete my thought on Calvin Ridley, because he's such a clear weapon in what Trevor Lawrence is comfortable doing. Now that we can't ignore Christian Kirk, can't ignore everybody else. I'm interested to see if they get the tight end involved as well. But for Calvin in particular, my goal would be whenever he lines up on the right side of the defense, meaning he's seeing L'Jarius Sneed, unless they decide to travel Sneed, and I'm not convinced of that yet. We'll see how he feels. But I personally would be physical with him there and put the safety over the top. In particular, I would leave Cook over the top of him. I feel like that's a good combination that is both instinctive and physical there. When he comes over in the short game, I think that's going to be the challenge, because you're likely to see Joshua Williams over there. And Joshua's got some speed to turn and go. But coming downhill is something that I'm going to be a little bit concerned about. And so I'm going to cheat the other safety that way and bring him down, especially if it's Edwards, but Reed as well. I'm looking for a bit of a bounce back game from Reed. If he gets Ridley in the slot, which he didn't do much of last week, but he has that capability. So if they try to reverse it to try to get on Reed, that might be something that we see pretty early. And Avery agrees.
Yeah, Avery is just having herself a great time over there, singing and happy about the Chiefs plan. So yeah, I am a little worried that they might come out. Sweetheart, can you try to calm down a little bit, please? Thank you. I'm a little worried that they might try to keep the Chiefs in base, because they also are playing more 12 personnel with Brenton Strange and Evan Ingram, and then they might split out and try to attack Reed with Christian Kirk specifically. That's what I'm worried about, because he does not match up well against Christian Kirk. He doesn't. He gets beaten very quickly downfield against slot receivers that are quicker than he is, and that's a very easy thing to exploit if you can keep the Chiefs in their base personnel and do it that way, which I'm a little worried about. But how do I think they're going to defend Calvin Ridley? Blitz. Steve Spagnuolo is not going to change. He doesn't change with Jamar Chase or T. Higgins. Not going to change
True.
with Calvin Ridley, who's not much of, but a lesser receiver than Jamar Chase. He's not going to change the way he plays. You might see a shade every now and then, a shade of a safety, a little bit over, a little tick over, but you're going to see Josh Williams, Trent McDuffie, L'Jarius Sneed, Jalen Watson, whoever's out there at the time.
Yep.
Just doing their job. That's Steve Spagnuolo to the core, and he's unapologetic about it, which I love, and it's extremely frustrating.
And I hate. It's a love-hate thing. It works. Thank you, Anthony, and thank you, Rob. Appreciate the support, pal. Every time, very much appreciated. I will tell you this, too. Another guy that I'm going to be on the lookout for, before we get to this question from Anthony, it's going to be Bigsby. I thought that they were going to run tank a little bit more last week. If they feel that what they saw last week from the Chiefs is that they can get beat up in the middle without Chris, and knowing that Chris is, just getting back, if they choose to hit Etienne and Bigsby as a pair and try to run hard, which I think Doug might decide to do to try to wear out that front early so that he can capitalize on it later, that's going to make me concerned. In which case, maybe we see some blitzing there. Maybe it's just a heavy rotation if they can get away with it. But I think the run game is going to be something that they use as a tool.
I think it has to be. You saw what the Lions were able to do late in the third and fourth quarter. Like, that's what it was. It was about the body blows that it wore them down. So if you got Chris Jones on a pitch count, you can take advantage of his pitch count and kind of give some body blows to this defense where they don't really want to. That's not what they want, and you kind of have to hope that the Chiefs come out and put up points, because that's where Steve Spagnuolo shines. That's why he's the defensive coordinator, because they're supposed to have leads in the third and fourth quarter, not be able to be in a close game and get run on in the third quarter. And that's what the Lions did. They were able to pile up some body blows, and then they were able to break a couple of runs and score a touchdown. So that's what this is going to have to look at. And Etienne last week was not super efficient. He had a big play at the end of the game, and that bumped his number up. But I was like, otherwise it was 18 carries for like 50 yards. Or 55 yards. It was not a very good day for Travis Etienne until that 20-plus yard run touchdown. So I think Tank Bigsby might be the guy. Brenton Strange is a very good run blocker as well. They might play more 12, like I said, in this game. Bring out Tank and just try to pound the rock a little bit early to force Leo Chanel onto the field. And that's what makes me nervous. Leo Chanel in coverage. No offense, Leo, but it's not his best spot. And when you have to see him covering against the tight end, and Brenton Strange is no slouch either. He's fast up the seam. The dude can move. He was surprising on tape out of Penn State last year. Like, he can get up the field quickly. So that's one of my main concerns is the Jags 12 personnel against the Chiefs base defense, because it's not going to include a lot of Chris Jones. That's not a great matchup for them at all, in my opinion.
Yeah, fair enough. Let's hope that the offense can do its job, get out to a lead, and try to keep that sequestered for a bit. We're going to hit a couple more here, folks, and we're going to call it a night because we got dad duties. Doug, welcome in. Glad you made it, buddy.
What up, Doug?
Nice to see you. Wanted to say that first. And Anthony, what can this pass rush do with Chris Jones back now? Honestly, they can build on what they did before. And you're going to see where Karlaftis can stay outside and not have to come inside. Mike Dana can come inside, and I think they're all going to be singled up now. Chris will demand, especially if Fortner's hurt, which he didn't practice for a couple of days this week, their center. They're going to have to double-team Chris Jones whenever he's in there. That frees up everyone else. So that's going to be the big catalyst. The big question for me is, are they going to keep FAU aligned next to him, and what can Felix get off of that double attention?
That's what I want to see. This offensive line is not very good. I'll be very honest with you. It's not very good right now. But that's why the ball had to come out quick. And they still got 2 sacks on Lawrence last week. So And I don't think that the pass rush in Indy is as good with Chris Jones, is as good as the Chiefs with Chris Jones. Kwity Paye played much better. They still have, Buckner over there too. So they have some good pieces, some young pieces as well in Indy. But with Chris Jones, it's completely different in Kansas City. But I think that they have to play more of Felix with Chris Jones. So again, he was their best defensive pass rusher last week. Felix Anudike Uzomah was their best pass rusher. Maybe Mike Dana was a little bit better. Just funny enough, I don't necessarily think that anybody was exceptional in the pass rush department last week. That's why they blitzed 30% of the snaps. Like they had to blitz a lot to overcome some of the issues that they had. And that's not great. But I think that Chris Jones helps FAU. I mean, everybody a lot. Hopefully you can see, George Karlaftis get a couple one-on-ones and win. He's still having some trouble to win quickly, guys. It's not in his game. It's not in his nature right now. Hopefully he can get that down. But Felix looked better than just about everybody, maybe outside of Mike Dana as a pass rusher. So I'm hoping that Chris Jones's assertion there will just allow them to get more one-on-ones. Bring George Karlaftis back into the middle. Like, let him do that. That's what he did last year when Chris Jones was on the field. Let him do that a little bit more. Match him up on a guard. Let him use his strength inside and better footwork than guards and affect that. Both the center and the guard for Jacksonville are hurt but playing. Take advantage of it.
Yeah, exactly. I will tell you this. I don't necessarily disagree with you with anything, but I will say that of those three, Felix, George, and Mike, having all of them producing some pressure, feeding off of each other, I think raised the floor of what they can be. So I'm happy with that. But you're right. George is a 2.7 or a 2.8 pass rush guy. He's now 2.43. That's for damn sure. They got to get somebody quicker. And I'm totally with you there. Thank you, Anthony, for that question. Thank you, Gary. Everybody give Gary a hand, one of our mods. Nice to see you, buddy. And he said, will the Chiefs have a good game on special teams on Sunday? And I believe Dave Tobe is going to lock that stuff down. I think he's still kind of pissed about that thing.
And it's funny because Andy Reid was talking about like they kind of had talked about them going for it. I don't think anyone expected it on the 17-yard line, which I didn't. I know that everybody in the stadium after the fact was like, oh yeah, expect the fake. On their own 17-yard line? I don't think so, guys. No one expected.
I was on the sideline to tell him, what are you doing, coach?
I mean, crazy. Fortune favors the bold, right? So yeah, I think he's going to have it on lockdown as well.
It does. What's up, Cody? Glad you made it, man.
Hello, Cody.
Gary, let's see. Doug, good question. How many flags get thrown on Taylor? I think Taylor's going to make an adjustment. There is communication, a lot of talk about it this week. I do think he'll still get flagged at least once. My guess is probably twice. Do you have a feeling, Dan?
I don't at all, actually. There's been an article written about him being warned in the second half, and his adjustment was in the second half. So I don't think they're going to have. He adjusted. He talked about it. He adjusted. He moved closer. That's the main issue here. Is his alignment.
Right,
not going to call
closer, but not within the rules.
No,
right?
He was. He wasn't. He was closer to the center, forward. That's all that matters. Yeah, they don't care about the foot. Like apparently they don't care about the foot. They don't care about his jump because it's right. I know you do. It's right with the snap. If they do it just to show force, that's illegal in my opinion. Like I don't agree with. They're just going to throw a flag because they have to kind of set a precedent. So I'm hopefully they don't do that. But I think that he's going to be just fine. I think he's going to be lined up where he needs to be. He's just going to keep doing his thing with the snap count, and I'm totally there for it.
Yeah, if he can continue that, then I'm all over it as well. Last question tonight, folks. Make sure you like, sub, hit the bell if you're new to us. We're going to get on down the road, and we hope you will too. Remember, we'll be live post-game, as we always are. So look for the timing. It all depends on the game flow, as always, but you'll be able to find us. Be able to find me on Locked On Chiefs as well. It'll flip around some. And then, Dan, do you have another post-game gig too?
Another post-game gig?
Yeah, I thought you were doing another appearance. Am I wrong?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. Dan's going to be here and only here. Exclusive.
Did you not tell me? Did you book something for me and then not tell me?
Oh, I've done dumber things, so yeah, that could be that. Yeah. So last hypothetical here. I saved Jacobs for last. Sorry, Jacob, to make you wait. What would you be willing to trade for Stephon Diggs? Yeah, I mean, Diggs is Diggs. I'd give you a player. I'd give you one of the Chiefs' 7 receivers in a second. I could live with that.
People are going to like this answer, but I don't think they're getting an extension done with said player. And one of their first-round draft picks is an inactive player, L'Jarius Sneed. For Stephon Diggs, maybe you have to include like a fourth. Maybe you have to include a fourth, but I would be down. I would trade L'Jarius Sneed to the Bills for Stephon Diggs, and I would call it a day.
That would hurt me.
Wouldn't hurt me.
Damn.
I love L'Jarius.
All right,
I hope if you watch this, I love you, man. Stephon Diggs is worth it, in my opinion.
He is a beast, and I will agree with you in part that it doesn't feel like L'Jarius and the Chiefs are going to get a deal done right now. So we'll find out. But that's it for us tonight. Like I said, we will be live post game. Just wanted to see Rob with this knee. Yeah, I have one of those too. It acts up every now and then. Will this knee of Travis Kelce be a hindrance? Yes, it definitely will. He will not be Travis Kelce. He will be 60% of Travis Kelce. All kidding aside, that is a significant thing. If it's stabilized and there's no more bleeding, they did have to take. And it's funny, if you guys saw Travis's podcast with his brother this week. By the way, Chiefs Kingdom, this is hilarious. I love it when I see that. I will just recap the whole show for you. On New Heights this week, Trav said specifically, like, hey, we got a problem. In fact, I might do a video about that too. He said, hey, we have a problem because Jay Glazer's report was eerily accurate, like to the CC of how much blood they pulled out of his knee. So that part bothered me. Yeah, that's not something you don't usually see leaks of any kind of detail out of one Arrowhead Drive. So that was a little bit.
Yeah, they might have somebody on the medical staff that tells a couple of people, because I know somebody else who gets information from a specific medical person in the Chiefs building. So they might have themselves a little bit of a problem on their hands.
Yeah, and the funny thing is the organization knows about it too, so we'll find out if there's anything else. But if we do hear any more about any more blood being pulled out of that, I do think that is a concern, and that means that there's still open bleeding there because of the bruising. Other than that, if we don't hear about anything like that, then generally a bone bruise, even if it's as significant as it sounds like it is for Travis, a lot of that is simple pain management. So. And Jesus, technically, yes, I do believe that would technically be a HIPAA violation, but I don't know what the actual language of the contract is when the players sign up to be treated through the organization. There was at one point a discussion about whether the contractual obligations that the players' contracts through the NFLPA set up was actually breaking HIPAA itself. So I can't tell you if that's true. I'm not. We'll ask the lawyer. You guys, Seth's segments have moved to Tuesday. If you'd like to know that, hit the lawyer for Tuesday's show.
All right, hey, before we get out of here. No, go ahead. Before we get out of here, Ryan, we seem to have forgotten again. I need you to give me who is going to be your impact performer against the Jacksonville Jaguars this week.
Don't shoot me. For all of you that thought he wouldn't even make the 53, I think the guy that can actually affect their DBs. Oh yeah, should I do this? I think it's Justin Watson. I think he's going to have another game because everyone's going to be looking for the feed Sky and feed KT. I think he's got a nice matchup back there, and I think Cisco's going to get his butt kicked if he tries to go head on him.
Interesting. Very, very interesting. You know, funny enough, Josh Downs put and Andre Cisco in a body bag a few times last week. Our rookie Josh Downs just put him in a body bag. So look out for that. I'm going to go to the other side of the ball. I think this is going to be another Trent McDuffie special. But this time, he's not just going to come downhill involving the run game.
Oh.
He's going to take a pass and he's going to take it out of the air, guys. He's getting his first career NFL interception on Sunday. You heard it here first. If I'm wrong, I never said it.
Who am I? No, I was never here. It's perfect. I'm glad that you did, because I thought he might get it last week, and he did produce the fumble.
Yeah.
So I'm pumped. I hope that you're absolutely right, and I think Trent's still on the way up. For everybody who's across the league that's sleeping on him, his name's going to get in a lot of ears real quick. Well, that's it for us tonight. Thank you all for spending your time. Enjoy your evening. Oh, and before you go, put in the regular comments, not the live chat, but in the regular comments tonight, after you hit the thumb, tell me, is this late enough, or would you guys like the show to go later, go up at a later time? Let us know how we tweak this live show on a Friday so we can hit what works most for most people. So we would appreciate the feedback. I appreciate you guys.
And put your scores in there too. Score predictions too in the comment section. Let us know what you guys think the score is going to be.
We didn't even do that, did we?
No, we didn't.
Okay. Real fast. I do think it's not as blazing as I would like it to be, but I think the Chiefs win 28-21.
That's along the same lines. I have it 31-20 Chiefs.
Yeah. Okay.
I just think that they finally get the offense on the track this week.
Okay. Okay, so we did give you predictions this time. Sorry, I forgot though. Enjoy your weekend. We'll talk to you Sunday.